Hi, I'm Naya Calmels, and welcome to our Mindful Movement Mindfulness series. This is the first video in the series, and today we'll be focusing on the breath. The breath is generally the first principle in all mindful movement modalities. In Pilates, it's our first principle. There's a whole arm of yoga dedicated to breath work. When we talk about functional anatomy, functional movement training, integrative movement training, and corrective exercise, generally we look at the breath first. Today, I want to talk about three-dimensional breathing and how that can inform your movement practice and your mindfulness practice. I'm hoping that those two are one and the same, but you might also have other ways in which you practice mindfulness throughout your life. And I hope that as a first step, you can continue to come back to the breath. As Joseph Pilates said, the breath is the first act and the last act of life, and truly our very lives depend upon it. So I hope that you will take a moment to breathe with me now. All right. So the first thing that you want to do is just take deep breaths, inhaling fully and exhaling fully. When Joseph Pilates would talk about the breath and how to breathe properly, he would use the imagery of wringing out a towel. You want to fully inhale and exhale, completely getting rid of any of the what he called impure air in your lungs. So take a few deep breaths with me. I like to inhale through the nose and exhale through either the nose or the mouth. You do whatever serves you best. Take one more breath here. So without paying a whole lot of attention and just taking some deep breaths, you might find that the deep breathing helps calm your nervous system. So this has been used in a lot of trauma work and in different work to help people who are dealing with anxiety or other social challenges. So you can always come back just to taking deep breaths, but let's get a little bit more mindful about how we're doing that. We'll start first by placing a hand on the chest and then another hand on your belly. And first, just breathe into the chest. Take a deep inhale, feel your chest rise and fall on the exhale. And then the same thing, but now breathe into your belly. And you might have felt that when you breathe into your belly, you take a deeper breath. So this is often referred to as belly breathing. However, that's just the first step. We want to make sure that you can breathe deeper than just your chest and really get into the belly. But both feeling into the chest and feeling the belly are feeling the front part of your body expand with the breath. And we want to feel a three-dimensional inhale widening and an exhale pushing the air out, not just in the front of the body, but also in the sides of the body and the back of the body. I'm going to scoot back a little bit here and take your hands, place them on your rib cage so that your hands are on the outside of your rib cage. And with your next inhale, feel the rib cage expand wide. And then push the air out on the exhale. Take a couple more breaths like this. One more time. Nice job. So now you can feel the breath expanding the rib cage wide. We also want to feel the breath expand into the back of the rib cage. So you can even take your hands and place them right on the back of your rib cage. You can also lie down and feel the rib cage move into the floor or your mat. But for the sake of sitting here, let's go ahead and just place our hands on the back of the rib cage. And once again, inhale, feeling the ribs expand. And exhale, let all the impure air out of your lungs. And inhale and exhale. One more time. Inhale and exhale. Beautiful. So we've just done three-dimensional breathing. It's a really beautiful way to start your practice, but you can also come back to it at any time. You don't need to be in the middle of or at the beginning of your mindful movement or Pilates practice, you can just take a few deep breaths, practicing your diaphragmatic breathing during a stressful time. You can practice it while you're in your car driving. You can practice it while you're waiting in line at the DMV or the grocery store. I actually practiced this at the DMV this morning. You can practice doing this wherever you think of doing it. And then you might also use it as an opportunity to start your practice breathing in a really healthy way, setting up your alignment, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and then ending your practice, coming back to the breath again to set you right for whatever you're doing following your practice. So before I leave this session, I just want to take the breath and the mindfulness component of how you breathe and talk about how you can incorporate that into your movement. So from an anatomical perspective, we can't breathe fully and properly if our alignment is not correct, with our rib cage aligned right over our pelvis and our spine in neutral. Pelvis and neutral position as well. So as you practice this breath work, please also make sure that you're in a neutral position, whether or not you're standing, seated, or lying on your back. Your neutral position will be slightly different depending upon which position you are in relationship to gravity. But overall, you want your rib cage aligned with your pelvis, spine long, and pelvis in that neutral position. That will allow you to get full deep breaths and allow all of the muscles that help with the breathing process do what they need to do, both expanding, lengthening, and contracting. So going to the Pilates breath, we often cue that to co-contract, where we're moving the diaphragm in unison with the pelvic floor, the transverse abdominis, your lower abdominal and deepest abdominal layer, and your multifidi muscles in your spine. So I won't go too into depth with that right now. We talk a lot about that in our Pilates practice, but I just want to remind you of why the breath is so important in a mindfulness practice, but also in our other mindful movement modalities, such as Pilates or yoga. So come back to this video anytime. I'll do a follow-up video that's more anatomy related, talking about how the way that we breathe changes the way that we move and vice versa. But I hope at the very least, this gives you an opportunity to think about moving the whole body through three-dimensional breathing, really breathing into the front, the sides, and the back of the body. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck with your three-dimensional breath.